This is episode 10 of Base Basement, brought to you by your local toilet paper manufacturer. And there's a lot going on in the world.
Yeah, there is.
So just to recap, I think these past few days, past week, aside from the coronavirus, American forces and I believe British forces bombed a militia group in Iraq that attacked an American British base, whatever.
Really?
Yeah. An Iranian-backed militia group, that's what they're calling it. Chelsea Manning was freed by a federal judge, so she's out, which is huge.
Yeah.
Alex Jones got a DWI that he probably wouldn't have gotten if he would have just remained calm, but you can imagine that traffic stop.
We all know Alex.
Yep. And virtually everything got canceled except the NFL season, including the XFL season, which we're all really bummed about.
Right. I'm just glad it's not going on during the NFL because I want to see the Vikings. But if this thing keeps going, who knows? Maybe this whole year is just going to get canceled.
Probably.
Be crazy.
And it's crazy in terms of lost revenue because the NBA has that huge TV deal with TNT.
Mm-hmm.
And Disneyland canceling for 2 weeks that's a lot of lost money.
Yeah.
And once people are allowed back in 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whenever it is, they're not going to have half the business that they did before because people are still going to be freaked out about this with all, the media frenzy and everything.
Yeah.
Which a good portion of it, like from independent, news outlets or reporters, journalists, whatever. I mean, it is warranted, but I think how the media is trying to turn it on Trump and he's trying to like backpedal a little bit, kind of go on the offensive. It just creates this shitstorm.
Mm-hmm.
And like we were talking to, or Gary was messaging us in our group that we have for the four of us, all the lost revenue that hotels are seeing right now.
Yep.
Obviously.
Yeah. I wonder if it's going to trickle into where I'm at too.
For sure.
One way or another. Could it? Some areas might increase or decrease as far as what they're seeing. Obviously, we're seeing an increase in toilet paper sales, so
for some fucked up reason,
all of the toilet paper is just gone. I got so lucky when I went in there and they were unloading this massive pallet, and as soon as he threw it on the shelf, take it off.
We're just prepping and getting prepared if there's a President Bernie Sanders, because it's going to be like fucking Venezuela if he gets control, which won't happen, by the way, but still. We want to be prepared.
I might have to start taking all of my money and putting it into just daily life things.
Yeah.
Just
toilet paper is the new currency. You'll have engineers and doctors like on the black market selling it.
Seriously, I mean, he advocates for a Venezuelan like policy. I've been thinking about this actually this week. Just how he said the American dream is more apt to be realized in places like Venezuela.
Yep.
And, I thought about it. I'm like, I think I understand what he means like that now. It's like today, we don't really have the American dream to strive for because we're living it. So it's kind of hard to see it. So what we need to do is we need to go back. We need to set ourselves back. We need to shoot ourselves in the foot, put ourselves in a place where we can re-achieve the American dream. I get it now. That's how it's more apt to be realized that you need to tank your economy, start all over, and relive the American dream.
Definitely.
Make it happen again. I'm all for it, Bernie. Bernie 2020.
Yeah, for sure. And the thing is, too, if you could achieve that, like Bernie Sanders' economic vision for the country, but not go all the way to what Mao did in China in 47 through, the Great Leap Forward and then the Cultural Revolution. I'm actually reading about that in The Case Against Socialism by Rand Paul.
Yeah.
And he's talking about it. Some of the friends he knows fled communist China during Mao's regime. And it's fucking crazy because not only did they implement price controls like Venezuela did, even though they were, in terms of resources, the richest country on the face of the planet, but they completely abolished private property, which is necessary for communism and a deeper form of socialism, right? Not just regulating certain industries, but the abolition of private property and setting price controls. Those two things can completely fuck up an economy. And then, of course, what happens is the government comes in and says, we're the saviors. And what Rand talks about in his book, he cites some of his Chinese friends and some other sources from communist China.
Hold on. All right. We might have missed some of the video at the beginning,
It's okay, dude.
but
But we
can
got the
keep
audio.
going. The audio's going.
Oh, beautiful. All right.
So we'll hang on to that.
Perfect, dude.
So you were saying,
Yep. That Bernie's foot in the door leads to much more destructive things, but when it gets burned to the ground, it can rise from the ashes, like you were saying. And then the next few generations will realize, hey, capitalism is a much more better system. It allows for people to pull themselves up by their bootstraps and actually live the American dream, because we're going to have to shift that paradigm once more, because there are so many young people who believe.
I hate living through this cycle, you know, when you can see it like that, just how it can become like this, just based on the lifestyle you end up living, you know, whether it's like a really hard one or a really easy one. Like, I think we have easy lives.
You bet.
It's not that hard. But then when you think of who has a hard life, it's the people that had to build all of this shit before. They didn't get to just sit back, relax, have everything cozy. Like, I think houses back in the day, you know, just how different that was. Like, the houses that we've been upgrading, how much, you know, everything's advancing, improving, becoming different, because people can create companies and do this and that. Now we're turning to the point where we're turning our backs on all of these companies and all these people that have made our lives better, easier, we're living longer, etc. It's just, it's sad.
It's that progression or transgression or evolution, I guess.
It's a cycle. It's like the circle of life of just stupid fucking human beings that never learn, especially now when we live in the age of information. People don't know any better, and here we are advocating for socialism. You know, the thing I don't understand about goddamn socialists, they seem to be the people that say, you know, especially the commies, they seem like the fuck the system kind of people, don't they?
Yes.
Yet they want to use the system and make
to
it
enforce
bigger.
Their ideals and philosophy.
Yeah.
It
just seems so fucking backwards to me.
Yeah.
Because do you not realize the system that you're against is fucking government?
Yeah.
That's what our issue is. It's not that these companies can do this, and that. They can do it because of government.
Yes.
And then to think that you're going to be able to just use government, how?
Yeah.
No. You need to just scale back government, have it do little to nothing with your life, and live your life by just interacting with other people.
Exactly.
I mean, that makes the most sense to me.
Yep.
Live within your community.
It's the polar opposite of like what I was reading about, you know, communist China, post World War II. What Rand talks about in his book is, during the Great Leap Forward, when the state in communist China took all private property and they started farming, people started dying of famine because the land wasn't being properly farmed. And there were these 4 farmers who made a pact and actually signed a deed or a contract stating that we're going to privately farm in this home we've built, or this house or whatever. And of course that means a death sentence in Maoist China.
Right.
I can't remember if that was that was during the Great Leap Forward. And they farmed like 5 or 6 times. Well, they got 5 or 6 times the yield that the state did during that time, just by privately farming between the 4 of them, instead of having their lands allocated to the state,
right,
and having the state farm collectively. And then after that failed and killed, like, I don't know, 40 to 50 million people by quite a few estimates. It was the Cultural Revolution in China. That's what Mao deemed it. And essentially, like, it was just state worship, but there wasn't as much killing. But what Rand talks about in his book, he mentions an ophthalmologist colleague of his who escaped China, and he talked about something called the Red Guard, which was people in their youth and like youthful adults and whatnot who went around neighborhoods just beating the shit out of people to enforce the propaganda and kind of that mindset to go along with any, you know, statist economic policies that were already being implemented at the time, which is just petrifying. It's 1984 before 1984, really.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, well, because 1984 it was written in 49, and it was just the,
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it
and high school teachers don't really teach about Mao. They might, it might be a, you know, blip on the radar, I mean, but
you'd have to really look into it. You can just see how it happens, though. just based on like human emotion.
Yes.
That's why I think it's obvious, because you put yourself in the shoes of the other people. What would you be doing?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I can see rebellions, uprisings, bloodshed, especially when you're seizing companies, doing all this shit like in Venezuela. Stupid. Inflation by 1,000,000%. That's not even that's not an exaggeration either. That's a literal figure.
Yep. In
1,000,000%.
Venezuela, if you're at a bar and you buy a beer, it can cost, because of inflation and superinflation, hyperinflation, whatever, it can cost 2 or 3 times as much by the time you're done with it. And you have to pay your tab. Yeah, but and like you were saying about how
How can you even afford it?
yeah, it's fucking crazy. Like Pol Pot in Cambodia, when he started the killing fields,
Yeah.
he came to power because he studied in France, and then he came back to Cambodia. Well, he studied in France when there were a lot of Marxists. They were teaching Marxism at universities.
Mhm.
So then he came back to Cambodia, and when he was kind of an opposing political leader of an opposing political party, the American government, of course, didn't just bomb Vietnam. They bombed like the eastern side of Cambodia or whatever, and that helped, like the whole anti-colonialism mindset helped fuel his rise to power. And then once he got into power, anybody who wore glasses, because we normally associate that with intellect and being smart and whatnot, anybody who wore glasses was a teacher, was a journalist, reader, philosopher. He brought to the killing fields and just shot. And they didn't have enough money for bullets quite often. So what they would do is they would either take these big stones or bring them to this one tree, which I guess where 20,000 people were killed alone just by that one tree. And they would just smash out the brains of like young kids because they didn't want them to grow up and, you know, be pissed about everything that happened during their youth. I mean, it's so fucked up that you think it's a joke, you think it's being made up, and it's not. I think it was anywhere from like 1.3 to 2 million people died in the killing fields of Cambodia during the Khmer Rouge.
Wow. That's crazy. That I had no idea. You know Chin Yen, right?
Yeah.
The restaurant,
Mhm.
the owner there.
Not the owner.
He came from Cambodia, and he fled from Pol Pot and all that stuff.
Khmer Rouge, yeah.
Yeah.
Holy
So-
fuck. I bet he has a story or two to tell.
Yeah, I'm sure. I never really asked him, but like from what I heard, he had to like carry his sister out. And
Oh, fuck.
it was just crazy. I'm sure he lost some people, but then he came over here and built, you know,
Mm-hmm.
a life for himself and a family. They're actually really well off. I mean, as far as what they're doing now, I'm not saying like, you know, it all worked out for him, you know, because America, but it just goes to show, you know, how here he is under this sort of regime, fleeing for his life, but then he gets to come here and take his skills, do something with it, create something for his children who are going to be able to live good lives with, you know, what he was able to create here and pass it on. And it's just, I don't see, how is it that hard to see how much better the system we have here is? Like, really, I mean, when somebody can come from a different country, build something, get away from this crazy shit like you're fucking talking about.
Exactly.
I mean, I think, why would we want to change it? Why would we want to copy this system that people are fleeing from?
Mm-hmm. Or even certain aspects like the abolition of private property. Some people who are young and haven't studied history or economics would look to that and say, you know, private property, it's evil for people, for all the profiteers and property owners and people like who are rich and greedy. And it's like, you know, you have to study the issue of what the effects of that would actually be if you abolish private property, you set
Right.
price controls, even when your country has a lot of resources. And then on top of that, you have state propaganda, which is which proved incredibly effective in China
Mm-hmm.
and Cambodia and everywhere else.
Yeah, I mean, it's
The
look at how
effects-
much toilet paper we've lost through all
Yeah,
the
dude.
propaganda.
Yeah,
I mean, it's very effective.
for sure, dude. But the Great Leap Forward in China really resembled what Stalin did in the Soviet Union with the Gulag system, in that these policies weren't implemented to kill people.
Mm.
It's just that that's what happened. In the Soviet Union, they really didn't have enough food, and they wanted to work these prisoners. They didn't have enough food. They ended up perishing and dying. And then in China, the state just misallocated resources agriculturally, and tens of millions of people died from famine. They didn't necessarily like murder them or whatever, kill them. You know, they implemented these policies, and then the famine just did away with them. Fucking absolutely it's insane. And it's crazy to think that
just starve them to
death. I'm glad youth voters don't vote, because somebody like Bernie would be in office.
Yeah.
As opposed to somebody who has the complete polar viewpoints or views on certain issues than he does.
What are we gonna do, man?
Especially with the toilet paper hysteria right now, dude.
I know, in this political race we've got going on between
a 78-year-old senile man who doesn't know where the fuck he is at any given moment.
No.
And his syntax, his sentence structure doesn't match up.
No.
He doesn't have a coherent thought of his own, and he's very...
Why did I stop?
Yeah.
Why am I the only one that stops? And then he just stops.
Yeah.
Just like he's talking, he's like about to make a point, and he's just in the mid-sentence. Why do I stop? Why am I stopping? And then everybody's just like, what? And then he doesn't say anything, and then they move on to somebody else. It's like Joe Biden, everybody.
Yeah, pretty much. And the fucked up part is, if they don't go to an opening convention, I mean, I really think the Dems are going to ride him out, see if he can get across the finish line. Of course he won't, because after the first debate with Trump's going to be like, okay, I want like 4 or 5 more debates.
Yeah.
Like, this guy is making no fucking sense.
Yep. Keep putting me up against this guy, please.
Yeah, it's amazing. And it's real funny that the Bernie bros are trying to push the only reason Biden won was voter suppression. It's like, no, Biden kicked ass with black voters.
Although it's funny that you're bringing this up. I was watching a Trump rally recently on the YouTubes, and he was asking the crowd to cheer louder. Who do you think's easier to beat, Bernie or Biden? And they felt like it was Bernie.
Yeah. Yeah.
They might think Biden's a little bit of a threat, even though he is a senile old man.
He has
he might be able to just destroy him, but
yeah, he has no views on any points. He's a corporatist centrist. Like, Biden is the worst person / policy advisor / politician or human being on the face of the planet when it comes to criminal justice reform. Yeah. He authored the 94 crime bill, and I'm reading, I told you this before the podcast. I read Rise of the Warrior Cop by Radley Balko, which talks about police militarization, mass incarceration, and the drug war, basically. And all of many of the policies that were proposed to significantly strip away Fourth Amendment protections from unreasonable searches and seizures were authored by fucking Biden, or like co-authored, or he was a huge supporter of it.
Yep.
I mean, he's basically, when it comes to the war on drugs, he's basically Nixon and Reagan and Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
Like, he doubles down, and meanwhile Trump could hit him on that and say, I passed the First Step Act.
Mm-hmm.
So what the fuck is he going to say to that? What are liberals going to say to that when Trump brings that up on the debate stage, which we all know it will. We all know he will, rather.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very true. All he has to say is, Biden, let's look at your record.
Yep.
As a politician. You've been a politician for 30 years. 30 plus years. Yeah. It's been a long time.
He is the swamp, and that's how Trump can frame it.
Yeah.
And he's going to... It's going to be sad to watch, because Biden has fucking dementia. We all know it. I've worked with individuals who have dementia and the early onsets of psychosis and everything, and the loss, or the losing of touch from reality it's tragic and it's sad.
Yeah.
But it's also messed up that the Dems, like Tom Perez and everybody at the DNC, is going to actually fucking run him.
Everybody's going to put him up.
He's going to get him. He's going to get
exactly
embarrassed.
The question I'm asking.
I'm not saying that he's not a piece of shit in terms of like policy and being a politician.
We could go down that road, but even just his ability, like where he's at physically, mentally, to be able to go through this. You're going to put him up through this whole thing. I mean, I know he's been in the spotlight his entire life, so this isn't anything new for him, having to put up with all of this shit. I'm sure he's found some way to tune it out at this point, but still, as we're saying, he can hardly form a sentence.
Yeah.
I don't know how he's going to do on the debate stage. He's going to lose track. He's just going to stop. And then Trump's going to be like, look at this guy.
They're going to have him on so many psychotropic meds and SSRIs. And they're going to have so many transcribers or teleprompters or whatever, and have so many advisors around him. He's only going to be able to give speeches for 6-7 minutes like he's been doing. And the whole COVID or coronavirus deal, that apocalypse or cataclysm that's upcoming, it's going to provide him cover, because he and Trump are both saying, like, we're not going to do campaign events in Ohio and these other places where there's a good chance like many people have it and it's spreading. So if he gets covered, there's a possibility that he might beat Trump. But of course, I don't believe it'll happen. It just gives him an advantage, a small advantage. And then the Bernie bro supporters aren't going to fall in line.
No.
So that's where it hurts Biden, because he's not going to get any of the progressives, or at least no significant portion of them.
No. Why? They're kind of anti-Democrats in a way. There's so many kind of factions, and there's certain ones that cross over into each other. It's kind of the Bernie side of things. Bernie and Elizabeth Warren, they're kind of the same. But then you get the Andrew Yang, he's in his own boat.
Yep.
Doing his own thing. Then you get Tulsi. She's kind of off on her own, but maybe similar to Yang in a way.
Fighting Bernie's fights for him because he's a bitch.
Yeah. Yep. Kind of piggybacks off of them. Then you get the really far left, where you get the Rashida Tlaibs, the AOCs, the Ilhan Omars, like that group, that crew. And then they kind of cross over into the whole Bernie side of things too. But then you get the Joe Biden side of it, the Hillary Clinton side of it, the Barack Obama.
More of the centrist corporatists,
yeah,
but slightly leaning left. And in terms of policy,
there's a pretty strong divide between those groups.
Oh yes.
But then these ones are all separate. So it's hard for me to see them getting anybody up there, because they can't all get behind one individual.
Meanwhile, Trump has record high numbers for primaries, caucuses, and approval ratings within his own base.
So many people behind him.
Oh God.
Nobody thought he was going to win in 2016. I think people are pretty confident he's going to win in 2020. So are we all of a sudden all going to be wrong on this one about him winning? Like, I just don't know.
The media will probably
got it.
Yeah, I think he does too. I think the media is going to push polls stating that, Biden has this chance of beating Trump. The same way they did with the polls before the November 8 election, 2018 or 2016, where they said, "Oh, Hillary is totally going to torch Trump. There's no way, he doesn't really win popular vote or electoral college.
Yeah,
he's not going to get." And then he completely upsets her. I think the same thing's going to happen, but once Biden gets on the debate stage and, I don't know, 15 to 20 million Americans are watching on national television, fuck.
It's going to be a landslide, I feel like.
Yep. It is kind of interesting. I love hearing the Bernie bros bitch about, voter suppression, and the only reason Biden won was because they held up lines and stuff. It's so ridiculous. Okay, here's why they won. It's not just because of Bernie's batshit ideas. Young people don't vote, which is a political riddle that both parties in general have been trying to solve. Young people just don't vote. I mean, the ones that protest do, but the other ones, they're too busy getting drunk, going to college and fucking. And
you'd have to be able to vote from an app.
Oh yeah,
that's what I think.
That's probably the future.
Yeah, I mean, if you could do it, I've been saying this, like, why don't we apply more of this stuff to technology? But I could also see how it could be open to, say somebody could get thousands of phones, download the apps, blah, blah, blah. It'd be hard for you to...
It'd be a huge verification process and the hacking, but...
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to maybe do it based off of an ID. You have to enter in all of your information, social security number, all that jazz.
You bet.
Encrypt the whole thing. Maybe. I don't know.
Yep. For sure.
But
make it better, but...
Yeah, how do you get the young people to vote? That's my idea.
Blacks coming out for Biden was very, very interesting to me. Because he was behind Obama and he was Obama's VP, which, by the way, he couldn't remember Obama's first name one time.
Barack.
I think it's been a handful of times, actually.
Yeah.
Or he just forgets because he's fucking 78 and he has probably a neurodegenerative disease or something. But blacks voting for Biden was surprising. To the extent that they did, I mean, they basically just said, fuck no, Bernie. Especially in rural states. And, it's going to be a circus. It's absolutely going to be a circus. But
Incredible.
Biden doesn't have to show his face. He can just be Boo Radley for the next however many months. 8 months.
Yep.
7.5 months, because now we have the coronavirus.
Yep.
And it's fucking people up in Italy, obviously.
Yep.
And it's already peaked in Hubei province in China, Wuhan. Now the Chinese government has it on lock. And just a few days ago, then Trump did something. He didn't do it a few weeks ago when he could have.
Do we know that he could have?
I don't know. I mean, he probably got early reports, early briefings
I
from
suppose.
the CDC.
I mean, do you just shut shit down the moment you hear that there's a virus spreading?
That's another good question, is how serious is it? And like, when did he know that shit was really? He probably knew when it got to Milan in Italy, and he was like, yeah.
So it would have been like a week ago.
Probably.
End of February-ish.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago, maybe.
Yeah. And that's always something I think that we're curious about that we're never really going to find out, is when did the people working on the front line realize that this was more deadlier than the flu and only spreaded, slightly faster? It's like,
How would we know?
yeah, exactly. If the flu's really bad and, seasonal flu breaks out and it's super bad, it kills 0.2% of its victims or whatever, people that are infected. Well, and so it's like, okay, well, you're not going to ban travel because of that, but you're going to ban it because of the coronavirus. So what's the disparity in terms of danger?
Yeah,
that would cause you to ban a 30-day travel ban coming from Europe.
That's what makes me wonder what this whole thing's all about. Is it a legitimate threat? Are we not getting the full picture? Because it seems like we're taking it super serious, but I'm not understanding the full scope of it, really. I mean, I guess I could see how it's deadly if a lot of people get infected.
Yep.
That's how a lot of things work.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that this is highly contagious. So there's that element to it. But at the same time, I just...
What do you do?
Do we really shut down the entire planet? Because, like, everything's getting shut down.
Yeah.
Do we really need to just
Disney
stop
World,
everything?
Disney World shut down for 2 weeks. The NBA, the NHL, MLB, everything.
It's just... To take it to that extreme makes me feel like there's something more going on with this whole thing. It's not just, here's this highly contagious virus, because we've had that before. There's something more serious about this one, and I don't quite understand it. Does it kill people a lot faster? Is that what it is?
I'm telling you, man, we gotta watch
really
Contagion.
Take you out. Well, and just the fact that you don't really show signs, I know there's that part of it. That part's
asymptomatic for a few days, and then it's like a 14, 27-day incubation period.
Yeah. So
the economic effects, like we were talking about earlier, are so much more interesting than anything else when it comes to like the, R0 number, the lethality rate, the rate at which it spreads, what have you.
We gotta get Richter back on here, so when I can say that to him, he's gonna be like, "Are you fucking serious?"
Yeah.
I already explained.
I'm already waiting
all
to
of
get
this
roasted. I'm sure there's like a misstatement I just made.
Oh yeah, he's gonna listen
he's
to this
gonna
and
shred
say,
me
"You're
up."
so off.
Twitter, Messenger.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's been sending us stuff, and I've been reading it, and I get it. It's freaky the way China's handling it, with their way they're taking people out of their apartments, or they were just locking people into them.
Yeah,
just welding doors. Yeah, that part of it's freaky. I don't live in a crazy authoritarian state. Not that crazy.
Yeah.
So it's hard to have that sort of fear.
Well, and that framework is interesting. If Trump's the leader of the free world and it's the hardest job on the earth, and he has a responsibility to do something, it's like, okay, what are you going to do? Because the Dems going to crucify him. The Dems are going to crucify him regardless. The media, everybody in the media, except Fox, of course, in the mainstream media anyways, they're going to say, okay, well, you didn't do anything and you knew about it now. Why didn't you implement a travel ban? But then it plays into his narrative because he's been proposing border control since he was running in 2016. Yeah. But then if he implements a travel ban, it's like, oh my gosh, he's so racist and like xenophobic. And apparently everything nowadays is just racist and xenophobic. So he's like, fuck it. You can go to Italy. I looked it up on Kayak. You can go to Italy and like Switzerland, France, you just can't come there for the next 29 days, 30 days.
See, and
So it's like when they criticize them, it's like, well, what are your solutions? What would you fucking do if you were in that? If you got actual briefings from frontline workers about what the fuck was happening
yeah,
in communist China, and now they're trying to blame it on us, but what's happening in communist China has now spread to Europe in Western civilized countries.
who's trying to blame it on us?
The media and the Dems. They're trying to, they're trying to say, you know, it's Trump's fault, and saying that it's the Wuhan virus or Chinese virus is racist and xenophobic.
That's so funny because I know what you're talking about right there. I saw a side-by-side of the New York Times saying, you know, this is the Wuhan virus when it first started.
Yep.
Like, that was them, their words.
They were the ones saying it, and now it's racist now that Trump's saying it, it's mainstreamed.
When you say exactly what they're saying, yep. It's like,
and now,
what the hell?
Yeah.
You guys are the ones that coined it. The media coined the term Wuhan virus, and now they're hanging everybody that says it.
It's like Chris Cuomo, Anderson Cooper, Wolf Blitzer, all those dipshits, Brian Stelter at CNN. They're so stupid. A month ago, they, like you were saying, Wuhan virus, coronavirus, well, not corona, but Chinese virus, whatever, maybe the Kung flu. I'm sure they dropped that somewhere. We just got to find it. But now that Trump says it, it's suddenly racist.
Yeah.
And everybody who before Trump who said it is completely off the hook. But Trump, ooh, Orange Man bad.
Yep. Orange Man's very bad.
Yep.
Don't you know?
But when you push them into that corner and you say, okay, well, if you're in this position, what would you do? How bad would it have to get? Because if you don't do something and you let it, I guess, grow or ferment in Washington and Ohio,
right?
Well, then you, I guess, even in a totalitarian sense, you could have implemented unilateral bans and saved lives.
Yep.
But then if you don't do anything, you're just kind of like eating a bag of Fritos. You're like, oh, fuck it, let's see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, you got to take action at some point. And I don't know. I don't have any issue with the timing of anything.
It's pretty good when I think about it.
What do you do?
It's just that he was back and forth. He was saying it's a hoax like a week and a half ago. And then now he has a serious demeanor, but I don't know if he still thinks it's a joke because he gave a press conference today of saying, you know, we're in a national emergency, whatever.
Yeah.
And then he was like shaking everybody's hands with individuals who had picked their nose or like rubbed their noses.
Yeah.
And like put their fingers in their ears and stuff. And that's like, okay, well, when you see the guy who's saying it's a national emergency, he really doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Well, it's like that dipshit fucking basketball player. Was it Rudy Gilbert or whatever? Who was making fun of he was making fun of the coronavirus after a press conference.
Yeah.
And he was he was just giving a press conference making fun of the coronavirus and everybody was laughing, so he touched all the microphones, like just touched them to make it seem like, haha, you know, the coronavirus isn't a real thing, like nothing's happening. And then he tested positive for the coronavirus.
Are you serious?
Yeah. You can't make this shit up.
Oh my god.
Rudy, I'm gonna look up that name.
Wow. I'll have to look that up too. I'll put it on the screen. That's pretty serious though.
Yep. And then after that, the NBA was like, Adam Silver, the NBA was like, fuck this.
Yeah.
NBA's done for at least 30 days, I think it is. It's a lot of lost money.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be funny if LeBron made a 180 and he said, you know what? Fuck China. Fuck the Communist Party of China.
Right.
He just said, fuck money, fuck corporatism, fuck the NBA.
That's a good point. He was all gung-ho about defending China. Then
we just need to be more
screwed.
Educated and informed on the issue, Ryan.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm very ignorant on the issue. And I am ignorant on the issue, but at the same time, it's pretty obvious what's going on here. This is the work of the Chinese government.
And
I'm going to say it right now.
They're trying to blame it on the US Army or whatever, and the media, the American mainstream media is actually taking them up on that and saying this is kind of Trump's fault. And they're kind of seeing how far they can get with that.
Yeah.
I was watching CNN, MSNBC for a good portion yesterday, and I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Is any of this verified?
No, it never is. You know how far they've taken that unverified shit? And
Rachel Maddow.
Yeah. Oh my God. Exactly. There you go. Just look at that one program alone. That's what makes it hard to know about any of this shit. We still going?
Oh yeah, dude.
We're still going. Yep. That's because when you when you see all of the stuff that they've done and the way that they will take anything and use it to their advantage, they can take people dying. It doesn't matter. So it doesn't surprise me if they could take something that's, you know, a serious issue, something that could become a pandemic, this virus spreading throughout the entire world, you know, hospitalizing people, killing, you know, thousands, hundreds of thousands, eventually, who knows? I have no idea. So it could be a real threat. And then here they are using it to say, fuck Trump. Like, the
last thing you should be talking about is Trump, unless he fucked up big, which he really didn't. The last thing you should be fucking talking about is...
What did he do?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, what do you do when there's all of a sudden this virus? So it's just, how much of this is legit? How much of this is manufactured hype? That's what I don't know.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to figure out. Because I know that they will hype something up. Timing is everything. And the fact that they're starting this right now, this is the perfect time. I've been through
so much. Well, the Fed just injected how much money into the economy, and so much other shit's going on.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And based on how election cycles go, I mean, every fucking election cycle, there's always something that happens, especially at the beginning of the year, that causes you to go through this roller coaster to see how is it all going to play out. The media does their dirty work, spinning narratives, making people think this, making you think this, because they form the story. And it's not like they do anything in one day. It's the layers that they build everything up on, and then all of a sudden they can go from here. They can't make the leap from here to here, but if they spin the story and they change it, it's just, you know, that's how liars work.
Yeah,
liars, when they're talking to you, they can start with something and they'll go on for a while and they'll try to find a way. They have an end result. They're starting here. How do I piece this all together to make it all make sense? And that's basically how the media works. They start at the beginning. They might have, you know, a few weeks that go by, and then all of a sudden here they are. They can just make this wild accusation because they built the whole thing up to the end. It's happened time and time again. It happens all the time. It's just like the whole Jussie Smollett shit.
Yeah.
That's exactly what he did.
They gave him a fucking interview, and then...
He tried to find some way to make the whole thing fit together, but it was too obvious. He had too many holes in it.
They wrote checks.
Yeah, I mean, there was just all of that shit.
Checks?
Yeah, I mean, there was actual evidence that had the whole thing break apart. But if you don't have all of that, and then you find some way to piece everything together, and all of a sudden it's like, oh wow,
if you don't,
maybe this is real. Oh shit!
If you don't use, if you don't do your homework, and the media has this very crafted and effective narrative, then you're gonna think what they want you to think. Yep. It's just like that Muslim woman who said she was assaulted by guys in MAGA hats, or like they were like harassing her and told her to take off that stupid hijab and headscarf, and it turned out she was bullshitting, and she didn't face any repercussions for that because she was just a pawn used by the media to perpetuate a narrative.
Yeah. Well, and you know that's what all those guys in the MAGA hats are doing. They just want to go after the
yep. And that happened at Gustavus Adolphus.
Women with the hijabs on, because that's sexy.
Yeah, what happened at Gustavus was this social justice, like, whatever group put up these flyers, and they were super racist, and everybody was like, holy fuck, we have racists on campus. Yeah. But then it came out after a few days, like, oh wait, racists, well, the racists they had in mind weren't the ones perpetuating it. It was just a group that we just wanted to raise awareness about, like, immigration and some other stuff, and like race and being, you know, culturally sensitive.
Wow.
Yeah, so they went to that extent just to have a conversation. Yeah. You could have just sat down and talked.
That's why I always wonder, like, how much of any of this racism's real? I don't ever see it, really. I knew one person that was like that, and nobody liked him.
Yeah.
Like, no one.
Yeah,
so,
dude.
And I feel like he kind of stopped doing that.
Definitely.
And changed his ways because...
society has changed. It's the shame. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the best way to change somebody. I know it sounds horrible. Shame somebody. And let's give it some context. I'm all for shaming people. I'm all for shaming racists.
Yeah.
I'm all for shaming pedophiles.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, God. I'm not just shaming them, we'll fucking hang them.
Yeah. Yeah. Drawn and quartered.
Drawn and quarter, man. Just like Scottish, just like the English.
And
the fact that...
I think shame is a really powerful tool for the public to use.
Absolutely. It definitely is for what you're trying to make, I guess, normalized, and what you don't want deviated from that particular norm or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, like when it comes to, I guess, promiscuity and, people, both men and women, like having a lot of I don't know where I'm going with this, having a lot of unprotected sex in their youth. It's like, okay, well, maybe we should to a certain extent shame that, because that's fucking terrible if they're not using protection.
Yeah.
Like that's educate them and then shame them if they want to do that, because it's going to be fucking terrible.
Well, yeah, I
if
mean,
they get tested. That's just an example of like, it's like you got to about
keeping
like,
people in line.
Yes,
yeah.
Stupid in a free, like voluntary, whatever, in a voluntary sense. You need to make people feel stupid about the dumb shit that they do.
Right.
That is serious.
Without having some sort of crazy repercussions as far as like chopping hands off.
You bet.
Whatever you're going to start doing. But
definitely.
I think saying that you're a total loser for some of the things that you do, I think that's acceptable.
I think Trump totally fuck.
Yeah,
when he says he's a total loser. He's a loser.
I didn't even think about that. But yeah, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
What's wrong with that?
Yeah. It's like,
I'm okay with that.
For sure, man.
If there's something wrong with what I'm doing, I'm okay with somebody telling me that.
And we're not going to get like super annoyed if somebody tries to do that.
Well, that's what's helped me in work. I mean, when somebody criticizes me and I think about it, I'm just like, okay, whatever. And like, there's sometimes people like feel bad about telling me that. I'm like, no, I want to hear your criticism, because how am I ever going to improve? I don't like to act like I know everything.
Yeah.
Please tell me, how can I do better? And just, that's why I think if, you want to say something about me, absolutely. But then that means I'm also going to try to have some confidence to be able to fire back. So I think that's where shaming, it shouldn't just break you, because I'm sure that's where people think like, you shouldn't shame people, because then you're going to have people that are depressed and suicide rates are going to go up.
That's the minority, definitely, and that very slim minority.
Yeah. Well, and just teach people how to be confident in themselves.
Yes.
I think that is something you can actually teach people, because it's not like, because people can compliment you all day about shit.
Yep.
And you still don't care. But I think you need to show somebody how they can find value in themselves and in what they're doing. And then that's where you can look to.
Definitely.
And I think people can understand that if they've been through that, where, your grandpa or your dad or somebody taught you something, and, you learned something through hard work and that sort of satisfaction. I mean, I think that's where you can say, hey, fuck you. I know what I do. I'm happy with who I am. You can't shame me.
Definitely.
So it's not like shaming you is going to make you depressed and blah, blah, blah.
Extra sense of confidence, especially.
I think you can show somebody how to overcome that.
That has to be built up where you absorb constructive criticism and you think, how can I better myself and others, as opposed to just deflecting it and be like, okay, like, fuck you, like, like, I don't like you, and making it like kind of a personal attack, vendetta, or revenge, whatever, And I think that's something a lot of people need to get over themselves, and just that sense of ego, and being like, no, I know I'm totally like, whatever, I don't need any constructive criticism.
Right.
It's like constructive criticism and shame, they're both very fucking effective.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
It's all in how you respond to it.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
But I think one of the riddles, oddly enough, this is totally fucking, I don't know where I'm going with this, but
just run, baby.
Yeah. We got a lot to talk about, but like when you said, shame is effective or anything, what I want to know is, when did cousin fucking become taboo in terms of shame? Was it just like one party? Because in the like up to the 17th century, for like the English and the Welsh, it was incredibly common for cousins, siblings, whatever, and nobody said anything. It wasn't a big deal, even amongst nobility and everything.
Yeah.
Was it just like one ballroom dance party where some guys were making fun of some other guy because,
Yeah. Well,
when did it become taboo and everybody was like that's fucking weird, don't do that?
Talking like my dad's
first and second, probably
kids, like
probably,
or are we talking like my dad's cousin's kids, like getting into second, third cousins?
Yeah, probably first and second. That's my guess. Whichever causes the greatest number, like, or greatest variety of defects.
Yeah, so that would be the closest.
Yeah, I mean, did they start shaming before scientists found out that there are a number of defects that could happen if reproduction happened between first cousins or second cousins?
I don't know. I
want to figure that out.
Yeah, that's a good question. I would imagine the shaming probably happened when they found out that you can really fuck up your bloodline by doing that.
Yeah.
By crossing.
Has to do with nobility and stuff and lineage.
I would think, because I think a lot of the times people were just in small circles like that.
True. Very exclusive.
I don't know. I really don't know much about it to say anything
parties.
about it. I really don't know anything,
dude, it's
so
cool,
it's
man.
hard to
But
speak to it.
It's
but
something
it's
to think
interesting
about.
Yeah, it's an interesting topic, because
yeah.
When did we start shaming something like that? I have no idea.
Yeah, because nowadays it's like, oh, dude, you fucked your cousin? Like,
Right.
what?
Right.
We need to have a discussion about this. This is fucking weird. What drove you to do that? And even though, like, it's consensual, it's voluntary, whatever, like, both parties consented, it's still fucking weird. But back in the Victorian era, colonial era, whatever, it wasn't that weird.
Yeah.
So what changed?
That is a strange one to think about, because I imagine it would have to be the scientific side of it all to have that information out there, and then you're still doing something like that. It's like,
yeah,
come on, man.
It's like,
come on, man.
Yeah, dude.
I can see where you start shaming somebody. So it's because before, like you said, not everybody was doing it.
Yeah.
But there was definitely that going on. And
there might have been a joke or two about it, like within the peasants or populace, but they weren't like, oh my God, dude, what the fuck? We got to run a story on this.
It's hard to know, because viewpoints about certain things have changed throughout time. I mean, I know that's a very vague statement, but I mean, just think of
that's a
public hangings, things like that. I mean, you and I would love to bring that back. Most people wouldn't. I mean,
how do we fight against that? How do we fight against that tide?
We need to go back a few hundred years so that we can go and experience something like that.
No, dude. Like, we would have to experience an actual drawing and quartering and be like, holy fuck, like, maybe we should reserve this for the worst of the worst, and not just like
just pedophile.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, no, I get what you're saying though, and it's kind of interesting. Like, if you would have lived during the Viking Age, like in the Gotland, Sweden, or Denmark, or Northern Germany, or Norway, or wherever, Iceland, and you were around a bonfire with a bunch of your friends, like drinking some ale, yelling skull at the top of your lungs, and one of you guys said, okay, let's plan a raiding party where we pillage and rape and kill and murder and burn an entire populace and steal their shit. Nobody would really dissent to that. It would just be a matter of like planning it correctly so that you can effectively do it.
Yeah.
Whereas nowadays, if you sit around a bonfire and even if you're drunk and you hear somebody say that, it's like, not that you would, of course, but if you heard somebody say that,
I'd
be like,
I could see you saying
what?
That. I could see you saying that, but jokingly.
Yeah, dude.
Bring it up like, what if we just
let's go conquer Sweden? They're fucking cunts.
Yeah, what if we just went and pillaged a village?
Sweden. No, it's fine, but
fucking get some Molotovs and awesome.
Like, we don't know where. It's just, we know if it's going to be Superior, Wisconsin, or
village, city,
Faroes, Nova Scotia, wherever. We'll
just gonna get so trash that we're gonna pretend that we're just Vikings back in the day.
Yeah, dude. As if like the peasants are just gonna grab their bales of hay and just sprint off.
Yeah.
Well, we come with our torches.
First house we fucking hit, we just get a shotgun to the face.
Exactly.
Just blasted.
There you go. Like, oh wait a second, we're in the 21st century now. We can't be going around doing this.
It doesn't work like this.
No. Okay, dude, you want to talk about toilet paper coronavirus?
Man, I'm just glad I was able to pick some toilet paper up.
I saw that picture you took. Obviously, with your phone, you didn't bring your Sony camera to fucking take a picture of it, but it's iconic. Like, it's grainy and it's blurry and it's perfect. Like, it encapsulates everything that's going on with the artificial scarcity that's happening right now. And
I know, I thought about it. Like, after I picked it up, I was like, I gotta get a picture of this, just a motion picture. My phone can do a wide angle, so I was able to really capture, like, you know, the whole thing, the whole experience. You could see it happening right there. I'm obviously carrying it out of the store. When I saw it, I'm just like, oh yeah, that's good. Post.
Oh, you bet.
Yeah. Just it fit right in there and I just had to put score right there. 20 some likes. I'm feeling pretty good about that post.
Yeah,
That gets my confidence
I saw
up
that,
right
dude.
there.
God damn, smiley faces and hearts.
Oof, people love it. I mean, toilet paper, it's all the rage right now.
Yeah.
Toilet paper memes, toilet paper pictures. I mean, everyone's
It's
all
like
about
whale
it.
oil during the, or whale fat during the 1800s.
Yeah.
Those are whale lighting lamps, whatever.
Epstein memes are down. Toilet paper memes
Jim Cramer.
are up.
They're up. You gotta buy.
Yeah.
But dude, the thing about toilet paper memes and coronavirus memes is there were dank ones dropping every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It wasn't like that when McCain died. When McCain died, it was like, okay, he's a piece of shit. We're gonna see maybe like 5 or 6 dank memes, and there were 5 or 6 dank memes over the course of like 2 days, and we're like, okay, those are pretty slick. But man, this is just gonna keep going.
It's gonna roll.
We live in the
for a
golden
while.
age of shitposts and memes.
Yeah, we do. There's a lot of meme lords.
When Tom Hanks was diagnosed with the coronavirus,
That was good.
and all those memes came out with Wilson and Forrest Gump running from the fucking virus, the actual picture of it. And the one is like, you never know. Life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. That's what it says in the bubble. And then right below that on the bottom half, it shows Morgan Freeman, coronavirus in a bubble. That's what it says. That's fucking... I'm sure somebody...
This is just the beginning, dude.
No,
just think, like...
We're scratching the surface.
We have the weekend to get through. We have all of next week. This is
and if
going to
it
go
gets
on
worse,
for a while. I know. Things are... This is the thing that I think is crazy. Things are just canceled for now. They're pushing things back a week or so. Like...
Big corporations.
What if this continues to go on and we don't get a good hold on it? Because, I mean, you're saying that China just now seems to have it under wraps.
They're on in the...
So
it's going downhill.
I doubt it. Really? Is it?
It's slightly past peak according to them, and they've locked down the Hubei province pretty good, and people are in certain areas of the province are going back to work, kind of around Wuhan. But Wuhan itself, I'm sure, is just fucking terrifying.
After they fucking locked people
it's like
up,
28 days later, contagion. We should just go on a
them.
zombie like plague marathon tonight, dude.
Yeah,
just say fuck it.
Let's do it.
Yeah, man.
That's.
But how much longer can it go? And Michael Osterholm.
I mean, I guess it's got to stop at some point.
That's true.
Yeah.
Michael Osterholm, he was that guy at the U of M who, works with the CDC, but for another organization, some other whatever, whenever some shit breaks out. Joe Rogan had him on for, I think it was like hour and 34 minutes. And Joe, of course, was as a great interviewer, was just asking basic questions. And Michael Osterholm was answering them. And it is pretty interesting what he said about like masks that have like holes in the sides and how it does nothing essentially.
Yeah.
How you haven't, if you really want to have an effective mask, you have to have it suction to your face, like customized and everything.
Yep.
It can't be like the shitty one at Ace that we were going to wear, or I was going to wear for the show.
Yeah.
Because I only had one. I mean, if you wanted it, totally, like,
I think
I would have given it to you.
I might have one.
Oh, really?
Here. Yeah.
Nice. But he was saying how, like, this is just the beginning and it could get significantly worse, or we can kind of, fight against that and maybe hedge against all the damage, everything that's going on. And it all depends on the populace. And when you have the entire fucking American populace saying, well, we got to go up there and buy 3 or 4 24 packs of toilet paper.
Yeah.
It's like, well, wouldn't you want to buy water? Just in Otsego, or in Target at Otsego, it was $4 for a 12 pack. So I bought like 5 of them just for the fuck of it. Like maybe I could sell them to somebody in case it really does hit the fan. If it is 28 days later, or it is like in Contagion,
yeah,
it's going to be like battery packs, which I can thank you for because you got me started on battery packs.
You're welcome.
Incredibly handy, cheap. You can buy them on Amazon.
Yeah. I know. And just keep them juiced up and you have power for days. Yeah. At least a couple days.
We're going to be selling TP on the black market. That's what we're going to be doing.
Thinking about it.
Be like, hey, man, it's going to be some guy in like he's going to have his hands in his pocket. Like, hey, man, he's going to be looking around thinking, the 5-0s nearby, like listening or looking with a fucking Stingray.
Yeah.
Like that $188,000 device that can like see through walls and shit in here. And he's going to be like, hey, you got any of that Charmin Ultra?
Yeah.
You got any of that stuff? Like, Man, I've been using paper towels for the past 5 days. My girlfriend, she won't shut the fuck up, man. I'll pay you $10 for
My
a
ass
roll.
is raw.
Yeah, my ass is raw. Like, it's just crust now. Like, I can't. I thought about using a leaf, but I wasn't sure if it was poison ivy or what.
Yeah. I don't want to take the chance. I just want the good stuff.
You got the. It's like that California.
I just want to feel that softness again.
God, it's like
Remember
an angel's.
the bears
It's like an angel's cheek in
from
my
the
asshole.
commercials?
Yeah, the Charmin bears and the brawny like paper towels. I don't want to use the brawny paper towels, man. You gotta help me. You gotta help me. He's like scratching his arm like he's a fucking like meth addict or something. Like, hey man, you just gotta give me. You just gotta give me those fucking like TP.
Yeah, I was
gotta give me
thinking
those
about
rolls.
like if I stock up, get them at a good price right now, and then I'm letting you guys know right now. I got rolls for $3, 2 for $5.
Hand sanitizer's going for $12.71.
I don't
No
have any
taxes.
hand sanitizer. I gotta get some of that. I've got soap, but I don't need hand
Brandon
sanitizer.
probably does upstairs.
Yeah. It's not a good lubricant, just so you know, Brandon.
Brandon, if you're watching this, dude.
But oh, the fucker.
But
I just don't know what's gonna happen in the future, man. I'm worried about is food gonna start running out? Are we gonna run out of all this shit?
What's the trade?
I mean, I'm taking a trip to Colorado. Am I gonna get the Wuhan Kung Flu virus?
Well, and again, it goes back to what people in Denver actually, what the frontline healthcare workers actually know in Denver, because Denver, the public schools are shutting down, I think, from March 16th through April 5th, which is going to be a huge problem for working mothers, obviously, if the fathers are or aren't involved, because, like, who's going to watch your kids? You know what I mean? That was a huge problem with nurses.
Black or white.
Yeah, exactly. But Matt Walsh yesterday on Twitter is like, I'm all for shutting down public schools, not just for a few weeks, but like we should shut them down for good.
Yeah.
I thought he would have got something trending, but I think
I wish.
it's gonna see a lot of parents are gonna see the benefits of homeschooling. Not a majority, obviously, not even probably a fifth, but still.
There's a lot of value. Like I always think about, I'm like, so you spend how much money to spend to put your kid through this whole thing? Do you really have money to fork over? Like, could you see the value in raising the kid yourself?
Mm-hmm. But a lot has to be behind that too, obviously. And we're not saying it couldn't happen. It's just like, if you wanted to make a snap decision and say, you know what, I'm going to fucking do it, you would have to work around a lot of pieces, obviously, especially if there obviously is a missing father. But if there's a father in...
Well, yeah, you need that financial backbone.
You bet.
Obviously.
With all the... Yeah, and that doesn't include like HOA fees, taxes, everything else, all these bullshit, whatever.
Depending on where you live, blah, blah, blah.
Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, I'm thankful I don't have any...
But if it could happen... But if it could happen, that would be ideal. Yeah. Obviously, we're not saying... We're just saying we hope it gets pushed in that direction.
Yeah.
You know, and parents really see the light. But how bad is it if Trump is Trump really bullshitting? Is he gaslighting, or what's happening? You can't tell. That's the problem, is you can't tell with Trump.
Mm-hmm.
If it was a genuine person, he was like, look, we can't let anybody from Europe come to the U.S. because the R0 rate is this times greater than the flu, or slightly lesser than the flu, or MERS, or the swine flu. And people will take you seriously, but Trump is like, we'll see what happens. Last week, Democratic hoax. This week, it's a real deal. Yeah. My administration is handling it just fine. It is fucking fantastic. It's great. It's the best. It's actually the best a presidential administration has ever handled any epidemic or pandemic. Believe me.
Right.
And then he sends like fucking 10 tweets.
There's that side of it. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, he's got his flaws in the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I can see why he calls the shit a hoax too. Because part of it is. I think part of it's way over exaggerated. But
the part that's serious is definitely fucking serious.
Yeah.
So he has a point, and many people in the scientific community who don't really have skin in the game are like, yeah, this is pretty serious.
Yeah.
We're seeing what's happening.
It's like the whole toilet paper thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's like
that's
not
the part that's just fucking.
If people just rationally purchase things and just went with the flow, we're not going to have this issue with toilet paper.
Yeah.
We can keep production flowing, all that stuff. It's just, I guess once we start having certain production lines cut off, Like, maybe there's something I'm missing. Is there a threat to the production line of toilet paper? Something to do with the supply? Do we get our toilet paper
Depends on where it's made.
China?
Yeah, well,
From Europe?
the problem with China is they make probably like, I would say 70 to 85% of our products.
They make a lot of shit.
So it's like, what's important to us that we could just either make across the border in Mexico and pay twice as much, which is like the workers twice as much, which is $1 an hour, or we could just make certain things domestically like masks and IV saline bags and
like how much is daily life stuff? I know medicine. I think there's a lot of the medicine from China, so there's that aspect of it. But a lot of the stuff I get from China is just like cheap plastic shit, the cheap stuff that's like, if all of a sudden I don't have it, I think I'll survive. And as long as I can get food, I'm good. As long as my utilities work and I can get food, I'm good. And I want to be able to work. I need to be able to work still. But I guess, who knows? We'll see what happens.
How important is it? And where is it made? And is the supply chain strong? If the gas and oil is flowing, the electricity is flowing, water is flowing, food, whatever, you're going to be good to go. But I think Trump should just take his trade war. This is an excuse to for Trump to take his trade war to the next level and not just start it with tariffs, but say, hey, you know what? He really could. I think on his own, if Jared and Ivanka didn't have so much invested in companies in China, because the Chinese government is communist, so they can just freeze their assets if they piss them off.
Yeah.
If they didn't have so much invested in China, I think Trump could say, fuck you, we're not going to have our products made in China anymore. We're going to have them made in the Philippines, which is like 10 cents an hour more per worker per hour.
Right.
And then we can still have super cheap products, but you're not going to be fucking making them because they don't start. It's good, dude. I got it. They don't start viruses in biolabs, or they don't have, in many places, they don't have wet markets where you cut and kill the fucking animal, skin it, field dress it, and then you eat it when they're carriers of diseases.
Yeah.
That's what he could say. If he really wanted to take it to the extreme, he could do that. But Jared and Ivanka have money tied up in China. So
lots of people do.
China has Trump by the balls, just like Saudi Arabia.
Trump, yes, but also China has America by the balls.
Yes.
I mean, they really do. That's
where trade wars get really interesting, because if we...
That's what makes this, a real
It's a chess
challenge.
match, because if we banned Chinese products, well, what percentage of imports... what percentage of imports come from us?
Yeah.
Like, to them. Because everything we have, like we said, every American household has 70 to 85% of stuff is made of China. And by the way, those aren't specific numbers; those are just like speculative or whatever.
Just throwing shit out
just
there.
A lot of stuff is made in China. When I look at
the stuff that I've got, it typically says made in China.
China.
I don't really look at it when I buy it. Yeah, it's. I mean, it can be random, but I'll buy it and then I'll notice it. Made in China,
Nicaragua, maybe China. Mexico, but
yeah. So,
but like Richter brought up, it's a good point when it comes to the supply chain being on the continent, because if the virus, if there's not a fucking pandemic starting from somewhere in Guatemala or Nicaragua or Panama, maybe Costa Rica or something, well, then it can just come up to us, and whatever's happening overseas is happening overseas, and production and supply chain doesn't get interrupted.
Right.
So where is our toilet paper made?
That's a good question. I'll check the packaging.
I'm sure if I just Googled toilet, or if either of us Googled toilet paper, we would get like 500 fucking stories just because of these dipshits who are going out and just buying it crazy. And I feel bad for somebody who maybe like they're at the end of the cycle and they needed toilet paper, but they weren't concerned with hoarding it. They're just like, I want to go to the, I just want to go to Walmart, CVS, or Target and just get some toilet paper because I don't have any.
I was
and
down
then you
to
have
my
these
last few rolls.
Yeah. And you have these fat fucks like just thinking it's such a huge issue if they don't have...
Getting a whole truck full of them.
Oh, God. When I was at Target and Otsego, like I was telling you before, there was this guy who had 3 24-packs. I mean, it was barely hanging in his cart in the self-checkout. And I just looked at him, and I had 5 12-packs of water. And then, like, we looked at each other and each other's products, and I'm like, dude, I have water, and you have toilet paper. How often do you shit? And how much toilet paper do you use when you wipe your ass after you shit?
Right.
It just, like, what's the trade-off? Which is better?
Right. Like,
when is this gonna end?
Like, it's almost like we're hoping for something like this. So it's like, I'm gonna be stuck in my house, and you know what? I'm gonna have to go to the bathroom a lot.
Yes.
And then we're not even thinking, it's like, but then that means I'm also gonna get food probably from the grocery store that I just bought my toilet paper from, Walmart. All right. It's like, you're gonna be here again anyway, and guess what? You're gonna be able to buy toilet paper again if everybody bought it the way they were buying it before.
Exactly.
Because we get used to that. That's how markets work. You know, you get used to the average buying rate, and then you supply for how often stuff's going off the shelves, and you supply for how often it's going off the shelves. And there's this many brands, and people buy this brand and that brand, and
I think
then
this
Walmart orders that.
I think even if
it's all fucked now.
Exactly, dude.
It's all fucked.
It is fucked, and it's gonna be fucked for months, because even if scientists came out and, like, frontline workers, and they're like, okay, you know, it's the virus, whatever, the pandemic is receding, and Trump was like, okay, believe me. He went on with usual banter. He's like, believe me, okay, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be the best recovery from a pandemic ever. It's gonna be just remarkable. Okay, I will see to it. My Vice President Mike Pence is going to be through it. He's going to be leading the charge. And then after all that, people are still going to, for months, say, oh, some fat fuck with Waddles is going to be like, oh, I need toilet paper. And then get like 5 fucking 24 packs every fucking time he goes to Walmart or Target. And that's what I really, like, don't want to see happen, because, like I was saying before, the people who just want some fucking toilet paper, who don't hoard it or prep.
Yeah.
It's not going to be that valuable, because, like I said before, if it's a leaf that isn't really an adhesive, or it is, whatever, it's an effective leaf, you just find a big leaf that isn't poison ivy and just wipe your ass, man. Problem solved.
Yeah.
It's a Midwestern rite of passage when you're out in the woods and you don't have teepee.
You know, it just... There's so many things you can do. I don't want to start getting into the details of the workarounds for toilet paper. Just the things I could think of. Yeah, you know,
Step Brothers clip where Will Ferrell grabs the rug after he's fucking rolls it and it's empty.
Yeah, just stick your ass in the sink, or
Jim.
I mean, the thing that I think is just go take a shower afterwards. Just clean yourself up. You know, use a lot of soap.
That's when I work at a supported living site, and an individual, I work with an individual who has a colostomy bag. So he has a stoma sticking out and everything. You have to empty it, like, you know, maybe 3 or 4 times within a 7.5 or 8 hour period, depending on how full it gets, whenever. When he like flips up his shirt and it like hits the clip and maybe a little gets on his leg or something like that, or somewhere else, we just tell him to shower. And it's the same thing, like it ties into that. It's like, dude, how much money have, assuming this goes on for months, and people fucking buy into it, like the peasants, the mass, you know, the populace buys into it, and they just continue buying toilet paper. It's like, how much can be avoided if you just conserve the toilet paper that you have, even if it lasted for years.
I know.
Even if you showered, taking it to extremes like you just did, like, worst case scenario, like if you don't have money or anything, and like you don't buy into the fucking hysteria, and you still can't buy, hypothetically, of course, you can't buy toilet paper because everybody's fucking hoarding it and like rushing to the Walmart at whenever the truck happens, or like Target whenever the truck, Costco, Sam's Club, whatever.
Right. You figure out their routine.
You
show
figure
up.
out, hey, wait a second, I don't have to spend hundreds of dollars, because that's what it's gonna fucking cost if you want to. Somebody wants to have this habit. I don't have to do it. I can just shower and like clean it and sanitize and everything, and that would be that would cost like 50 times less over the long term.
Yeah, your time and energy and all of that.
Yeah.
And I wonder what's going to happen if, say, everybody goes through and buys as much toilet paper as they possibly can. They just start pumping out as much as they can. They just supply everybody. Everyone stocks up, and then everything's fine. Life's back to normal. Then everybody looks at their fucking stash that they've got, and they're like, I've got at least a year's worth.
I got a warehouse worth of fucking TP.
They're going to try to sell it. who knows what they're gonna do? It's then when you go to the store to try to buy it, it's gonna be cheap as shit.
Oh yeah,
Because no one's gonna be buying it. It's just gonna sit on the shelves forever because everyone has a year's worth in their basement.
pretty much.
I don't know. I don't get it. What are we gonna do? How often do you go through it? You don't go through it that fast. What are you planning for? Do you think this is gonna last for this long?
You're gonna get a virus that's non-fatal, but you're gonna shit.
Right.
Have diarrhea. You're just gonna it's gonna be a water fountain it's a shit fountain from your ass.
This respiratory virus is gonna cause you to shit your fucking pants like mad. You better make sure you're ready to wipe.
Yeah.
And it's 2 weeks. It's 2 weeks, and people are stocking up. I need fucking over 100 rolls for 2 weeks. What? I didn't realize how much toilet paper people used in a span of 2 weeks. I'm way off on how, like, with the amount of adults that live here and how fast we go through it versus, like, I feel like we have an average household here. Very average amount of people that live here. So we go through an average amount of toilet paper.
When we shit,
it's not anywhere close to 100 rolls in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Like when we shit, we don't fold it up like 5 times and take like a super, like just, and then like cut it off and just fucking like wad it up, like wipe our ass with this basketball side, like fuck. Like this, because that's what, if it lasts a month, that's what people with extra toilet paper, if they wanted to use all of it throughout the duration of that time period, that interval, that's what they'd be doing. They would just be like wiping their ass with a basketball size.
You'd have to wrap your whole arm and just completely just rub it up in there.
Just arm yourself, man.
Just completely plunge yourself. It's
so
funny because we had to use we were at this event and there was like a women's expo going on and there was like a lot of females around, so they turned the men's bathroom into another female bathroom. So they put a sign over it saying it was women. And I know how effective is that. There's probably like 2 stalls in it. Not like the females are using the urinals or anything. So us men, we used like the family restroom. It was the handicap accessible restroom. So somebody used that and Brandon went in after us, somebody else. And he said that the amount of toilet paper that they used was insane because they did not flush. They said that like the whole entire bowl was just full of toilet paper.
Oh my God.
So I can't imagine, some people I guess really do use a lot of toilet paper. Dude. So maybe, 100 rolls in 2 weeks.
But how
that's
watery
2
is your
rolls
asshole,
a day?
Though? If you're not done shitting, then don't wipe your ass like 3 separate times in that session. I mean, it's not like you just got done eating at Olive Garden or Chipotle or fucking Applebee's.
Yeah. If you had Taco John's, Taco Bell.
Shannon saying that you get free returns. That's so... that cut to my soul when you told me she said that. I was like, that's so fucking.
You just have to
disgusting.
You have to be on site still, as long as you return it while you're still on site. Borrow it for a while you're there.
Throw in a few virus or 2. And...
Son of a bitch. All right, we could talk about toilet paper for hours. I feel like.
All right, dude. We should come back tonight after dinner.
Yeah, let's do another one.
All right, dude. Pound it. No, air pound. Coronavirus.
Yeah, we don't want to be spreading germs.
All right, dude. COVID-19 fam, what up?